Just making sure it looks right. I couldn't see the screen from over here, so I had to get up and make sure it looked the right way. What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Justin, and today we're listening to David Bowie with 3 songs. We're listening to Sweet Thing, Candidate, and Sweet Thing Reprise off of his album Diamond Dogs, released in 1974. My table is now uneven. Hold on, give me 1 second. I thought this thing was even. Nope, that's worse. I think that's a little better. All right, now we're back on the same page. Anyways, I've been meaning to come back to this album for just at least a little bit. I did want to hear a little more Bowie. I figured why not pick up where I left off. I think the fan is blowing in the microphone. Hold on. And a huge shout out, by the way, to one of you specifically. This would be S.E. How do you pronounce your name? Suwarle1, who has not let me forget about this song. So shout out to you for not letting me forget about this song. I think it's still blowing in the microphone. You can join me on Twitter. Comments down below. Let me know what you think of the songs. I hope you're having a fantastic day. And let's just jump into it. This is David Bowie with Sweet Thing, Candidate, and Sweet Thing Reprise. Boom.
Isn't it me putting pain in a stranger, like a portrait in flesh, trails on a leash? Will you see that I'm scared and I'm lonely? So I'll break up my room and yawn and I'll run to the center of things where the knowing one says, it's a sweet thing. Boys, it's a sweet thing, sweet thing. If you want it, boys, get it here, thing. Boys, it's a cheap thing, cheap thing. I'm glad that you're older than me. Makes me feel important and free. Does that make you smile? Isn't that me? I'm in your way, and I'll steal every moment. If this train is a curse, then I'll bless you and turn to crossroads and hamburgers. It's a sweet thing. Boys, it's a sweet thing, sweet thing. If you want it, boys, get it here, thing. Boys, it's a cheap thing, cheap thing. any other candidate. You'll pretend we're walking home cause your future's at stake. My set is amazing, it even smells like a street. There's a bar at the end where I could meet you and your friend. Someone scrawled on the wall, I smell the blood of their tree cutters who wrote up scandals in other bars. We're having so much fun with the poisonous people, spreading rumors and lies on stories they made up. Some make you sing and some make you scream. One makes you wish that you've never been seen. But there's a shop on the corner that's selling papier mâché, making bulletproof faces, drawing massive cactus when if you want it. Boys, better hear this. So you scream out of line, I want you, I need you. Anyone out there? Anytime? Trade whistling on the wine, say dirty, I want you. When it's good, it's really good, and when it's bad, I go to pieces. You want it? Boys, get it here, baby. Well, on the street where you live, I put my hold on my head, for I put all I had in another bed. On another floor, in the back of the car, in a cellar like a church with a door door. Well, I guess we must be looking for a different kind, but we can't stop trying till we break up our minds, till the sun drips love on the seedier nights. To rest you on the ground while shaking in fright. I guess we could cruise down one more time. With you on my side, it should be fine. We'll buy some drugs and watch a band and jump in a river holding hands. If you want it, boys, get it here, thing. Cause hope, boys, is a cheap thing, cheap thing. It lights in your snowstorm, freezing your brain. Do you think that your face looks the same? Then let it be. It's all I ever wanted. It's a street with a deal and a taste. It's got balls, it's got me, it's got
And I know you guys wanted to go into Rebel Rebel. I'll give it to you soon. Don't worry. Don't worry. I'm not going to lose continuity on it. I'm going to listen to it probably in the same session, but not right exactly at this moment. We got a lot to talk about with the past three songs. Okay, so the first two songs, the first two songs off of this album, they were fine. They definitely set a very, very interesting stage, but I didn't love them, you know? But you guys kept on saying, like, listen to these three songs, get to the next three. So here I am, and of course, you guys are always right. I love it, you know? From the first few tracks on the album, we get a really, really dystopian feel. I mean, you get that from the lyrics, absolutely. You get that from the feel of the music, the tonality. You get it from the album cover. Which, by the way, I don't know why, but like, you know how like you get certain album covers and you have them in your room and stuff like that? Like, I could never put that album cover anywhere. It just doesn't feel right. Big change of pace from the previous really rock and roll anthem that Diamond Dogs was, but moving into Sweet Thing. Like, it's so desolate, right? Like, the first two songs gave you the dystopian feel, but it almost gave you like a... think of movies that kind of like are action-packed dystopian, right? So think of that one movie, Doomsday, I think it was called. Death Race. I'm sure there's a lot more better examples that I could think of, but like those kind of action dystopian. Mad Max. It has a Mad Max vibe, the first two tracks, right? Moving into this feels more like actual desolation, but with a bit of hope and sweetness to it. I'm trying to think of a movie or something that I could kind of relate to this, but off the top of my head, I can't. Oh, maybe like I Am Legend, right? Or The Omega Man. Like something that's still empty and desolate, and yet there's a little bit of hope, perhaps, at the end. Something like that. David sounds so good here. Like he has a very dark, crooning kind of voice. I like how in the first song, in Sweet Thing, he starts off so personal. Like, and so deep. His voice is so deep. I knew it was him because, you know, as far as I can tell, he's the only singer on the album, and of course he's going to be the main attraction. But his voice was so deep, it didn't sound like him. It sounded slightly otherworldly, which I guess for an album with scenery as this one, you need to sound otherworldly. And man, he pulls it off immaculately, and the way that the music builds up. The saxophone, the piano, and the keyboard, and the organ that comes in, which I see that a lot of this is done by him. The saxophone. I mean, like, there's just a nice array of instruments to bring this kind of song to life. And I love how slow and melodramatic Sweet Thing is. And then when you get into Candidate, it stays with that same kind of tone, stays with that same tempo, but then slowly and so gracefully, the song evolves and ramps up. And it becomes a little more chaotic, a little more fuzzy, a little distorted, before eventually getting into Reprise, in which it perfectly transitions and flips on its head back into, of course, a Reprise of Sweet Thing, bringing back that same kind of surrounding with like that big, open, desolate jazziness. I mean, these three songs, you guys said it, so I mean, it's obvious, sure, but they're really, really, really strong. Like, just put them together so I can toss them on my playlist strong, you know? But even like the way the saxophone's being played in the back there reminds me of Van de Graaff Generator. Perhaps some of the singing reminds me of Peter Hamill in that very like dark sense of melody. I mean, Bowie brings it here. I mean, that is really amazing. And I think one of you had mentioned at some point that David Bowie was like very inspired by Peter Hamill. I think that one of you mentioned it. Sometimes I forget what I read, but I mean, here is a song that I could get that, because I could definitely see a band like Van de Graaff Generator taking these songs and covering it in their own style. And even the harmonies here, kind of like the song says, I mean, it does add a little bit of a sweetness to the song, but the voices still sound weak and in a sense hopeless. Like they don't sound as like big and powerful as perhaps other songs would use them as. But that's part of the spark of life in this song. That's part of what creates this really interesting scenery that David has going on. I mean, that's just really, really cool. I wanted to pull up some information because I'm still not 100% kind of following the story in the album or kind of what's going on. So I'm just reading a little bit of the information here on Wikipedia. It says, Sweet Thing paints pictures of decay with sex being a drug-like commodity, while Candidate contains references to Charles Manson and Muhammad Ali, with Bowie being consumed by the fakery of his own stage creations. Interesting, because I know that David Bowie went by many different personas during his career, so maybe this is kind of like a reflection on those stage creations, as it says. That's really interesting. And even the lyrics, like, I mean, the lyrics feel very soft-spoken, but very hard-hitting. They feel very dramatic, filled with, like, regret and a slight sense of dread, but a little sprinkle of hope, you know? It's safe in the city to love in a doorway, to rankle some screams from the dawn. And isn't it me putting pain in a stranger? It's an interesting line. I guess I was initially thinking drugs putting pain in a stranger, but maybe it's not quite, you know? According to what we read on Wikipedia. Like a portrait in flesh who trails on a leash, will you see that I'm scared and I'm lonely? So I'll break up my room and yawn, and I will run to the center of things where the knowing one says, boys, boys, it's a sweet thing. Boys, boys, it's a sweet thing. If you want it, boys, get it here thing. For hope, boys, is a cheap, cheap thing. Perhaps the world at this point, or whatever world that he's, you know, creating the music in, is so dark and so gloomy, and there's just no hope, that the only way you can find any sort of relief, hope, or anything like that is with someone else. And I would imagine that the person singing the chorus, you know, boys, boys, it's a sweet thing. This person is telling the boys, like, it's a sweet thing. This is where you get hope. Almost like a pimp or a madam or whatever you want to call it, you know? And then moving into candidate, I'll make a deal like any other candidate. We'll pretend we're walking home because your future's at stake. My set is amazing. It even smells like a street. There's a bar at the end where I can meet you and your friend. Someone scrawled on the walls, I smell the blood of les tricotus, who wrote up scandals in other bars. This one I don't know. This one I'm not getting quite immediately. Well, on the street where you live, I could not hold up my head, for I gave all I have in another bed. So with someone else, he's been with someone else, so he can't give himself to this person. On another floor, in the back of a car, in the cellar of a church with the door ajar. Well, I guess we must be looking for a different kind. Okay. But we can't stop trying till we break our minds, till the sun drips blood on the seedy young nights. I guess we could cruise down one more time. With you by my side, it should be fine. We'll buy some drugs and watch a band, then jump in the river holding hands. I don't know. It does have a very, like, I mentioned it before, but it does have a really, like, seedy underworld feel to it, right? Like, doesn't it, like, dirty and grimy? But the way that David presents it is just so, it's beautiful. And then once again, getting into the reprise, if you want it, boys, get it here. For hope, boys, is a cheap, cheap thing. Interesting how the person says that hope is a cheap thing. Before they were saying it's a sweet thing. Is it nice in your snowstorm, freezing your brain? Do you think that your face looks the same? Let it be. It's all I ever wanted. It's a street with a deal and a taste. It's got claws. It's got me. It's got you. So the streets have these characters in its claws, and they can't escape. And if they try to escape, like being clawed by your cat, which I know what that's like, it hurts. You know, it's a painful process. Really impressive 3 songs. Like, these were really, really good. Anyways, let me know what you guys thought of the songs. Definitely join me in the comments down below. You can also follow me on Twitter. You can also support the channel on Patreon. But for now, have a fantastic day, and I'll talk to you tomorrow. Bye.